All right. Well, without further ado, we've got this guy named Jason McClellan that works around here, and he covers the news on the radio show because on the website we follow daily headlines, UFOs in the headlines all over the world. And Jason always comes into show to share the headlines for the last week. Well, he does show pictures too if you watch online. So there's some showing going on of those headlines. And so we are very happy to welcome Jason McClellan, our news correspondent, to share some news with us. Hi.
Hello, Alejandro, and thank you for introducing me. Hello, everyone. This is your Open Minds UFO News Brief for Monday, September 19th, 2011. Astronomers announced the discovery of more than 50 planets last week, including one super-Earth that may contain water in the habitable zone, and we talked about that last week. The wonderfully named planet HD 85512b. Horrible name. But while scientists typically focus the search for extraterrestrial life on areas that may contain water, that's something the Kepler Space Telescope does, a new study by a team of researchers led by a scientist at the University of Tokyo suggests that desert worlds could be a good place to look as well. According to Discovery News, the researchers feel that desert worlds could be remarkably resilient for the survival of life. A key point to the researchers' findings is that desert planets are more resilient to issues that can result in mass extinction on water planets like global ice age. The computer models produced by the team of researchers indicate the habitable zone on desert planets is 3 times wider than it is for water planets. Discovery News explains, this means the Kepler metric for habitable zones may be misleading if applied only to water worlds. Because the wider range of habitability, life-bearing desert worlds may be more common in our galaxy than Earth-like worlds.
Look at Arizona. I mean, coming from Colorado. In Colorado, you know, during the summer, you've got moderate temperatures, rain, and so the plants grow. And then in the winter, they freeze. Here, you know, it's like, especially now that I have a house, it floors me that when it's 110 degrees, I've got to go outside and pick weeds because weeds are going crazy. In the summer, stuff is growing and blooming, and it's amazing with very little water. You know, the desert out here, although, you know, there's not a lot of vegetation, there's still vegetation and lots of life, that's for sure, out there. It's incredible. Life is so resilient.
And you and I talk about this a lot, that, you know, the scope of NASA and most scientists for looking for extraterrestrial life is so narrow because we're looking for, you know, what makes sense to us, what life is here on Earth in our conditions. But there are so many other conditions out there that we're not looking at that could yield
that I'm sure do
huge mother lode of life that we have no idea because we're not looking there.
Yeah. We're going to be so floored when we find all these creatures all over the place.
I already found them.
Did you?
No, I didn't, but I'd like to.
Me too.
Well, more NASA news. NASA's Kepler mission has discovered a world with 2 suns, just like Luke Skywalker's home of Tatooine in Star Wars. This is the first time an alien planet with 2 suns has been confirmed, and according to researchers, there are most likely many more just like it. The finding was announced at a NASA news briefing on September 15th, and on the panel of researchers was Lawrence Doyle of the SETI Institute, who was the lead author of the paper announcing the find, and John Knoll, visual effects supervisor at Industrial Light and Magic. That's Lucas's company that did the special effects for the Star Wars movies. And the name given to this newly discovered planet is, and this is slightly better than the super-Earth planet we just discussed.
Good.
This one, its formal name is Kepler 16b, so at least it's a little more friendly to say.
Yeah.
But during the panel, when they were making the announcement, somebody posed the question, what is the planet going to be called, and who's responsible for naming it? And the panel didn't really seem to have the answer for that. They kind of said, well, I don't know. I guess it's going to be up to the media and the public to give it, I guess, a nickname. And
they're like, what's wrong with Kepler 16b?
Well, of course, then people ran with Tatooine from Star Wars, so that's
nice.
Really what everybody's calling it right now is Tatooine.
Cool.
But this planet has 2 suns. You have 2 sunrises and 2 sunsets. It's pretty cool. And they doubt that it has life on it just because the variations are so great with these different suns
temperatures.
And, yeah.
We'll just have to build a base there, so at least, you know, Bigelow can build a hotel there so you can enjoy this double star
That would be
landscape.
a huge attraction there.
I'd go.
Absolutely.
That would be great.
That'd be awesome. But yeah, big discovery there, and it was interesting. I mean, NASA, of course, in what's becoming their typical fashion, teased it when they sent out the press release announcing this media conference by saying that, well, they didn't release any details what it was about. They said it was something to announce a Kepler discovery, but then they had somebody from SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, on the panel, as well as somebody from Lucas's Industrial Light and Magic.
Alluding to something, of course, much more exciting, at least for especially people from our point of view.
Right. And, you know, it was to create the hype, and they did a good job with that. You know, and obviously the guy from Industrial Light and Magic didn't really have anything important to add other than, oh, yeah, we didn't ever dream that this would be a reality, but it is, so it's cool.
But it got you to watch.
Absolutely. I had to watch.
Yep.
Well, you know I'm a big fan of the Kepler mission. How
and at least it wasn't as boring as the last NASA hyped up response, which was we discovered something that we already told you about a few years ago.
Right.
This was something that had to do with Star Wars, and that's always cool.
You mentioned Star Wars. I'm going to watch.
Yeah.
Suck me right in.
Yep.
The same applies with fireballs, Alejandro. What is this, our 20th consecutive week of talking about fireball UFOs?
Something like that.
Maybe. I'll have to count because I'm curious. But we have another fireball UFO. A fireball UFO was seen streaking across the night sky over the southwestern United States on the night of Wednesday, September 14th. Thousands of witnesses from Arizona, Nevada, and California witnessed the incident. The descriptions given by witnesses vary, but many who saw the mysterious object reported a burning object that was blue, green, yellow, and orange. News stations and police stations across the Southwest were flooded with calls and emails about the UFO. Lieutenant Justin Griffin from the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office in Phoenix witnessed the object and explained to Reuters, "It took an unusually long time to get across the sky." But, he continued, "It's like a meteor. It's not like we had any flying objects with little green men or anything like that." The FAA also received several calls about the light in the sky. According to MSNBC, FAA spokesman Ian Greger confirmed that there were no aircraft incidents reported in the western region. Jet Propulsion Laboratories' Don Yeomans, who manages NASA's Near-Earth Object Program, told the Los Angeles Times the object was probably a near-Earth asteroid and not a cause for alarm. And he went on to explain, "We are fairly confident that it was not a spacecraft or space junk." Yeoman offered the explanation for the color of the light from the object, saying the bluish-green color suggested the object had some magnesium or nickel in it. Orange is usually an indication it's entering Earth's atmosphere at several miles per second, a moderate rate of speed. Similar to Yeoman's explanation, Ed Krupp, director of Griffin Park Observatory in Los Angeles, said the UFO is most likely a piece of interplanetary debris burning up in Earth's atmosphere, according to MSNBC. But some witnesses, including journalist Brian McElhatton of ABC 15 in Phoenix, saw more than just one light in the sky, and they are multiple times cited by media sources for the sightings. For example, CBS Los Angeles reported the first reports came in from Riverside County around 7 p.m., but according to MSNBC, witnesses saw the light move quickly from west to east at around 7:45 p.m. So you have a couple interesting things with this sighting. You have different times reported, and, you know, who knows how accurate they were trying to be with saying around 7 and 7:45. That's pretty close. But then you have this journalist who saw two separate objects in the sky. But you actually were fortunate enough to see this as it was going through the sky, too.
Yeah.
What did you see?
And it was definitely out. I've seen, especially out here, probably because I spend so much time, driving across the desert to go home, across the Indian reservation, and this is like 15, 20 miles of nothing that I drive through. So I get to see a lot, and I have seen in the last year, some of the biggest fireballs or meteorites in the sky that I've ever seen. But this was a gajillion times bigger than any of those. This was so incredible. It was something breaking up in the atmosphere, because it was like 10 of the, even though it was like 10 individual things as it was breaking up, it was still each of these individual things, for the most part, was bigger than anything I had ever seen. Maybe a couple that were the same. But it was something breaking up, and as it broke up, it lit up, and then one of the things kind of sparked and lit extremely bright, where it even lit the ground and everything super bright, just like that.
It
and
had to be really bright because we had a full moon that night, didn't we?
Well, I think we might have, but the sky was pretty
earlier.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was. I don't think this moon was even up now that you mention it, because I don't remember the moon being up or much moon shine at all. I certainly didn't have any moonshine, but this thing was really bright and which broke up. So I can see how everybody in town would have been able to see what I saw. It didn't take long. That's the thing. What I saw was around 7:30, 7:40. I remember it was. I was on the road during that time, so it was about that time. And it seemed like it just lit up. I think I noticed it right when it lit up, when whatever this is hit the atmosphere. So that would lead to possibly, it was maybe pieces from an asteroid. That multiple pieces, though, which would account for the different times like you're talking about, breaking up. Also, Jim Mann from Phoenix MUFON, we were talking about it because he was talking about the reports that he got this weekend. And he was saying that, you know, he thinks that some of these people who thought the object was still, the object was probably coming straight towards them.
Right.
So it looked like it was still when it wasn't, because then it just faded out. So that would make sense too. So the thing is because of these multiple sightings, it probably was then junk from an asteroid or something all coming in at different times. Although, if it was a satellite or space junk, just this week there was a story about the different space or satellites, secret satellites that are up there, and some of them are being displayed at the Smithsonian, and they're really big and crazy looking. And if one of those broke up and fell into the atmosphere, they wouldn't admit it, so we wouldn't know.
Well, there's one that's going to be coming in on Friday.
But that's one we know of.
That's one we know of. You're right.
If it was more top secret, they wouldn't tell us.
Well, and the one that's supposed to come in Friday, it's kind of frightening.
Yeah.
It's this huge thing. They say it's the size of a bus, and it's something like 6 tons or something.
Yeah.
It's huge, and it's going to be coming in, and they really don't know where it's going.
Yeah.
The trajectory they've given, they've cited anywhere between Alaska and southern South America. That's like half the world.
Yeah.
And this thing could come down, and they said
Yeah.
there's like a 1 in, 30,000 chance that it's going to hit somebody. That's not that big.
Yeah, the lottery.
I know, the lottery's bigger than that.
And where everybody thinks they're going to win
So
the
we've got
lottery.
this thing, and they're saying it's going to break up, obviously, but still, they're
Yeah.
expecting quite a few large pieces to still be intact when it hits the ground.
Yeah, it is scary. And, you know, and especially with a secret satellite, if they didn't want to admit it, they wouldn't admit it until it hits the ground.
Right.
Because they have a 1 in 30,000 chance that it'll drop in the ocean or somewhere where anybody won't find it, and then they don't have to worry about it. But then once it lands on someone's house, oh, you know what? It was a top secret. We couldn't tell anybody.
And isn't that horrible? They think it's okay if it just lands and we litter the ocean. That's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, well, at least no one got hurt. But also, to make it come down here, they sent the instructions to the satellite to spend all of its fuel. So they just dumped all this fuel into space. And they're going to dump the garbage into the ocean.
Yeah.
That's just a perfect example of humanity, isn't it?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's so incredibly, how intuitively obvious is it not to trash, you know, our environment?
Yeah.
And here, just willy-nilly, let's just drop stuff all over the place.
Well, let's move on, Alejandro. There seems to be a lot of lights popping up in our own Arizona skies. It's kind of interesting. I think we have more people actually looking up at the skies. And KOAT Channel 7, the ABC affiliate in Albuquerque, New Mexico, said the calls poured into their newsroom on Saturday evening from witnesses reporting a strange light in the sky, and a similar light was spotted in the Phoenix, Arizona sky early Sunday morning. A routine weather balloon was initially offered by meteorologists as an explanation for the light in the sky, but the National Weather Service in Phoenix issued a statement Sunday morning to offer another explanation. The statement announced, "After further research, we received confirmation from the Columbia Scientific Balloon Facility that a launch did occur from Fort Sumner in New Mexico last night and was brought down over Arizona this morning." The National Weather Service statement offered the research balloon theory, but concluded this may explain the sighting, not offering a 100% conclusive identification for the strange light that appeared over both New Mexico and Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
But after seeing the photos, I mean, it looks pretty clearly to be a research balloon, one of the huge kind that NASA uses.
Yeah. Well, and I think, to your point, and we've seen this on the news here in Arizona, because of that fireball that everybody saw the other day, people are watching the skies a lot,
Right.
and the news is showing people out with their telescopes and stuff looking so they can hopefully see something like this. And definitely watch the skies, people, because, I'm, for better or worse, try to keep my eyes in the sky a lot, and I get to see it. I remember a friend of mine, I told him, you can see a shooting star every night. And he's like, no, sir. He just never looked.
Right.
And if you look, you'll see stuff.
And there was recently an article on MSNBC, or it was CBS News. It was written by LiveScience.com Benjamin Radford, talking about how there's been a spike in UFO sightings reports.
Yeah.
And he mentioned Clifford Cliff from MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, who explained that or tried to explain it and said that, it's likely that because there have been so many movies related to UFOs lately, things like that cause people to look up at the sky more when they don't normally look at the sky and see the lights that are there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And, so it doesn't necessarily mean that UFO sightings they're more in number. It's just that people are actually looking to see what's there. So more people are seeing the same objects, but it's kind of cool.
I need to update my database so we can get a better idea of where those sightings are and when, and that's something I want to do hopefully this week so we can get a story out and talk about that.
Yeah, but definitely look at the sky, people. There's so much up there. If you do take some time and look up at the sky, you'll see something. There's lots of interesting things in the sky. But Alejandro, that is it for the news for today. Remember to check out these stories and many, many more at openminds.tv, your source for UFO-related news. I'm Jason McClellan, your Open Minds news correspondent, and you've been briefed.